Hi, good morning, everyone. So we'll start the session now. Last session where we discussed about the some miscellaneous testing techniques such as retesting, regression testing, smoke test, sanity test, informal testing techniques like head-up testing, exploratory testing, risk and priority-based testing, then mutation testing, buddy testing, localization testing, internationalization testing, finally globalization testing. That's the different kind of testing techniques we discussed. After that, I explained about the testing process along with the development activities. What are the testing activities are going to performed by separate testing team? That is my intention. So, with respect to development activities, simultaneously, how the testing team is going to perform their activities. That is what it is. A block diagram which I given explained to you in the last session. Let me explain once again. It is any software development process starts with the requirements collection. After that, they go for the requirements analysis. After requirements analysis, they do review on the requirement documents. Once review is completed on those requirement documents, they will finalize the requirements. When requirements are finalized, one copy of the requirements are taken by the one copy of the requirements taken by the development team, where they can go for the design, coding, unit testing. After unit testing, they do integration testing. Once integration testing also completed, okay, they release initial build to the separate testing team. But in this meantime, testing team also will take one copy of the requirements where they go for the test initiation. After that, test planning, then test case design for manual testing. After that, whenever you got the initial build from developing to team, initially testing team is going to perform the smoke test. Testing team is going to perform the smoke test. Right. After it is build is stable, then automation testing team will involve to develop the automation test scripts. Then we create the test sets, then select the one test batch, start the execution. Start the execution. When we started execution, if we got any mismatches, when we got the mismatches, then we go for the defect reporting and check the impact of the defect, whether it is allowing to execute remaining test cases or not. Okay, still some students are busy. I don't know at student level what is an important compared to the class. Hmm. So create test set, test suite or test batches. Select one batch, start the execution. That's the level one execution, which is called a real testing or comprehensive testing. If you got any mismatches, then suspend that batch based on defect severity. Then go for the defect reporting. So once you report it, developers will conduct the triage meeting. If defects are valid, then they are going to resolve the defects. Then they give the modified build. On modified build, we perform the retesting and regression testing. We perform the retesting and regression testing. But once we reported to do this kind of activities, developers will take some time. In this meantime, testing team will not go and sit ideal. If you suspend your test cases, you can take another independent test set. You can start the execution. This way, you go for the execution activities. Okay. Finally, there is no mismatches. Then we can go for the final regression test or pre-release testing, then user acceptance test, then we have the sign off. Okay, now after this there is a block diagram. If you observe that, what are the phases I said in the software testing life cycle? Test initiation, test planning, test design, three phases. Then execution, test execution. Fourth one, defect reporting. So first one, test initiation. Second one, test planning. Third one is test design. Fourth one, test execution. Fifth one, defect reporting. The sixth one is test close. So it makes easy this diagram to remember the software testing lifecycle activities. So what is software testing lifecycle? Software testing lifecycle or system testing lifecycle. It describes the end-to-end activities performed by separate testing team to accomplish testing activities for a project, right? For a project. So following are the phases involved in STLC. First one is test initiation. Second one is test planning. Third one is test design or test case design. Fourth one is test execution. Fifth one is defect reporting and defect tracking. Defect reporting, defect tracking, then test closure. There are the various phases involved in the software testing lifecycle. Test initiation, test planning, test design or test case design, test execution, defect reporting and defect tracking, then test closure. These are the six phases we have in the software testing lifecycle. Okay. In the first phase, already yesterday I explained, I'm not going to discuss much on this. Who is responsible? Test manager. The output of this phase is mainly test strategy document. It is a high-level test document which is prepared early stage of testing, which it describes the brief description about testing approach, available components, and standards to be followed with respect to organization. That is the test strategy document. The next thing we have the test planning. In this phase, generally, so who is responsible means here our test lead. Based on the scope of current project which we are going to deliver, based on that he is going to prepare the document called test plan document. So the test plan document describes that features to be tested, scope, testing approach, test environment, entry and exit criteria, suspension and resumption criteria, training needs, risk and mitigations, schedule, test deliverables, like that, this kind of information where it is going to be described more detailed way. That is the test plan document. As a test plan document is like a route map for the test engineers. What to test, when to test, whom to test, how to test. The entire thing is going to be described in the test plan document. It is very important for successful software testing. For successful software testing. Okay. Next thing here. Now we are going to see test design, test execution. These three are the your responsibilities as a testing engineer. Test design, test case or test case design. So before going to this, first of all, try to know as a test engineer what are the roles and responsibilities for us as a test engineer. What are the roles and responsibilities? Okay, Sima, if you go for the 3 to 6 years of experience, also your roles and responsibilities are going to be like this. Okay. Now, test case design or test design. Who is responsible? Test engineer or and senior test. Both are going to involve here. Suppose more than 3 plus years of 3 plus to 7 years means senior test engineer. 0 to 3 plus means test engineer we are going to call. Okay. So as a software test engineer, what are the your responsibilities in the company once you joined? So what is your responsibilities? First thing, without knowing the project requirements, you are not the responsible. You are not able to test the project, right? You are not the responsible to test. How you can test without knowing the project requirements? For that, the very first activity as a test engineer, you need to understand the application functionalities. What are the client requirements? For the first, you have to understanding the business requirements, understanding the business requirements and functional specifications of the application. How we can understand the business requirements and functional specifications of the application is we have to read the project related documents. So whatever project related documents are available, so like BRS, FRS. So this kind of documents will be provided to you. We have to study those documents. So understand the application functionalities. Still some functionalities you are not clear. So get the clarification from your test lead or your domain expert who is working for your project. So clarification from clarification team, you have to get the so clarification about the project requirement. That is very important. So once understanding the business requirements and functional specifications of the application, then we have to identify the required functionalities. So after you understand, you need to identify what are the features we have to test the application, whether developers are implemented such a way or not, to test it is, to confirm it is, to ensure it is. So what features we have to test in application? Does identify the required functionalities to validate, and whatever functionalities identified, so you record those as a test scenarios. Record as a test scenario. Identify test scenarios you are going to call. After that, based on your test scenarios which you identified, then you have to go for the design and preparing the test cases based on the test scenario. Now, you identified scenarios. The how to test it is the procedure. The procedure you have to write it is the test cases you have to prepare. So test cases, each functionality or each requirement, how we have to test it is. We have to prepare the test cases. After that, so you can go for the executing your test cases manually. And if you are already automation testing, you may developed automation tester script, sometimes you can able to execute, even the manual tester can able to execute the automation tester script. You're not going to develop it is, but you can able to execute your scripts. Some frameworks makes easy to you to execute the automation tester script, even they don't have the automation knowledge. Then log the test results. We have to log the test results. That means we have to prepare the result document. So what are the test cases are passed? How many test cases are failed? So this type of information we have to prepare in a document. Log the test results. Then so defect reporting and tracking the defects. So once you got any defects, we need to intimate to the developers, notifying about the defects developers. That is called defect reporting. And defect tracking means here we need to track the status of the defects once you reported, whether developers are accepted or not those defects. Sometimes they may not going to accept why they are not accepted, or sometimes they may accept, but they're not interested to resolve the defects immediately. So you have to analyze this all the things. Okay. So these things you have to check. So report to the test lead. Then after that, once we got the modified build, then what next we have to do? We need to go for the retesting. So retesting we are going to do to confirm. So in that modified build which you received, defects are resolved or not. Defects are resolved or not. For the purpose, we have to go for the retesting. At the same time, we need to do the regression testing also. So to find any new defects are introduced due to the modifications, the regression testing also we have to perform. After that, so other testing task anything is assigned by the tester lead to perform the application. We have to do it is like functionality testing, usability testing, user interface testing, compatible testing, whatever testing types our lead set for us to perform the application. As per that, we have to go for the testing it is. Then report to the test lead about the status of assigned task. So every day, so whenever we are going to leave the office, we have to intimate to our tester lead. So how much task completed and give assigned task. How much task you completed. So based on the assigned task to you. Okay. So like daily status report, daily defect report, weekly status report, retesting report, other assigned tasks, etc. Okay. Participate in the regular team meetings with a lead and a manager. creating automation scripts for regression testing, provide the enhancements to project based on end user perspective, provides the recommendation on whether or not the application or system is ready for production. So these are the activities where as a test engineer you are going to do. Suppose when we have more than 4.5 to 7 years experience as a senior test engineer, what are the responsibilities? Means same as test engineer responsibilities, but he is participated in a review of test scenarios, test cases, and defects. Sometimes he is involved in preparation of the test plan also. Whenever test lead on occasion, he will lead the team as a backup for test lead. Okay. So these are the senior testing point of view. These are the roles and responsibilities. Same as testing, apart that he can substitute for the test lead when he's not there. And sometimes he'll go for the reviews on the test cases, test scenarios, which are prepared by the test engineers. Okay. Test design or test case design. So here, who is responsible to write the test case? Means test engineers are the responsible to write the test cases. You are the responsible. Now, when we are going to write the test cases, so what are the primary inputs for us? Generally, after necessary training sessions, test engineers are the responsible to derive the test cases for allocated module. The inputs for us requirement documents such as BRS, FRS documents. That is the primary input. So second thing, a GUI or graphical user interface design document. Graphical user interface design document. Third one is use case document. Third one is use case document. Okay. So next one, test scenarios. These are the different kind of inputs are required for the test engineers to derive the to prepare the test cases. Okay. Now we know about the requirement documents, BRS, FRS. So BRS means business requirement specifications. This document describes the brief description. This document describes the brief description or core business logic of the client in terms of who are the users for application and the required services for those users. But it won't describe the each feature how it has to work. So that kind of information we are going to find in the FRS document. FRS document, functional requirement specification. It describes the detailed functional behavior of the each component, each transaction in application. For successful software development, a clear FRS document is an essential. It is important for successful development of the software. Generally, 95% of projects will be failed due to unclear requirements in the FRS. There are two actual cases. But some scenarios, what happens here, so they may not go into maintain the proper documentation about the function of some scenarios, some projects. It will happen, some companies. And now, what they are going to do here, so they will put some other documents also. Graphical user interface design document. If I go for the Graphical user interface design, which has some prototypes like this. Prototype means a sample application without functionality. Dummy screen. Prototype nothing but a sample application without functionality. It is a dummy screen is going to provide it. Okay. What is the use of this one means for tester point of I'm saying easy to understand the application. By seeing this screen, we'll get a better idea how they are planning to develop the application. Next one, use case. So use case is like this. Generally, when our requirements are not clear, the business analyst can prepare the use case document. Use case describes the functional behavior, how functionality has to work from user's perspective in terms of actor's action and a system response. In terms of actor's action and a system response. In terms of actor's action and system response. Look at this use case document, how it looks like. Administrator want to create the new branch. The step by step, how the functionality flow will be described it is. That is the use case document. And then finally, we have the test scenarios. Test scenario describes him the requirement or a functionality or a condition which we need to test in the application. So what is the advantage of the test scenarios means by seeing the test scenarios, we can able to identify possible number of test cases need to be drafted. Possible number of test cases need to be drafted. That clarity we can get when you go for the test scenarios. And also we can provide the complete test case coverage for a project. And also we can provide the complete test case coverage for a project. One of the important things, so what is the difference among the use case, test scenario and test case? Use case, test scenario, test case. When you go for the use case, it describes functional behavior from user's point of view. So that means when you read the use case document, you'll get clarity how system need to work. Test scenario, it describes the test condition or a requirement or which we need to validate. That is which we need to test. Test case, it describes the validation procedure of specific requirement in application. That is how we need to test. As I said, with simple example in the classroom point of view, I said it is like a use case textbook. The test scenario nothing but a questions. So test case are nothing but answers. Okay. If you read use case, you can understand how user is expecting to work that functionality. In order to confirm such a way developers are implementing or not, what we have to test, that is a which we need to test a scenario. Then how we need to test it is that is a test case. It is. Okay. Then so during the class I given project related documents to you and I shown some scenarios how to prepare in the real time using template, test scenario template, right? So next thing, test case design. So what are the inputs? Just now we said requirement documents, use case document, user interface design document, test scenarios. The output is test case document, responsible test engineer. So while writing the test cases, some fundamental things we should follow here. What are the fundamentals of the test cases, fundamentals of the test case. Whatever test cases we are going to prepare, make sure those test cases should be simple and easy to understand. So that is an important one because today you are preparing test cases. So later someone is going to use those test cases to test the application. You spend 2 months of time to prepare the test cases. No one is able to understand your test cases. Then what is the use of that? Okay, that is the reason. So test cases should be simple and easy to understand. Second thing, proper naming convention to be followed. When you are writing the test cases, try to maintain the proper naming convention. Okay. Test case should have the high possibility to identify the defects. Whatever test cases you prepare, make sure those test cases should have the so where developer may commit the mistakes. In that point of view, you think and derive the test cases. That's what saying that test case should have the high possibility to identify the defects. Then there is no duplicate or redundant test case. That means same test cases should not be repeated. Same test cases should not be repeated. So duplicate test case and also unnecessary test case also you should not write it. No or redundant test cases. Whatever test cases you derive, make sure those test cases should have the high possibility to identify the defects. Then test case design techniques. As a test engineer, we use black box testing techniques. Why, sir, we are going to use black box testing techniques to derive the best possible test cases to achieve the completeness of testing. We use black box testing techniques. We use black box testing techniques. There is the intention to derive the best possible test case because we do optimal testing, not the exhaustive testing. So what are the techniques are there? Boundary value analysis, equivalence class partition, error guessing, decision table, or cost effective table. The fifth one is state transition coverage. These are the techniques we are going to use, but mainly these three are important. The reason in this slide I given only three it is. Okay. Already this thing I explained earlier. We discussed about the boundary value equivalence class partition using tested data, how we are going to prepare by taking the one real-time example, how to go for the new branch. You want to test how to prepare the tested data. So use the boundary analysis and equivalence class partition techniques. I explained it is. All these blackboard testing techniques earlier class I explained. Okay. The next one, we have the types of test cases. In general, as a functionality test engineer, we are going to prepare the three types of test cases. One is so user interface test cases. What is the meaning of that test cases which you derive to verify the look and feel of the application? Look and feel of the application, such as availability of the components, alignment of the components, controls visibility, font size, font style, clarity of the image objects, background color of the screen. These have comes under so user interface related test factors. Then those factors validation, what are the test cases we derive? Those we are going to call user interface test cases. Then usability test cases. the test cases which you derive to verify the user friendliness of the application, how easy to operate the application, those factors to validate whichever test cases you derive, those we are going to call usability test cases. And then functionality test cases. That means test cases which you derive to verify the function behavior, like when you click on a button or when you click on the link, how application responds. So whichever test case you write like that, those we are going to call so functionality test cases. These are the three types of test cases where we are going to derive user interface, usability, and functionality related test cases. So after that, again, based on the validation and functionality, we have the two types of test cases we have to derive. One is called positive test cases. Second one is negative test cases. Positive test cases and negative test cases. Positive test cases means the test cases which you derive with the primary flow or positive flow of events that we are going to call positive test case. The test cases which you derive with alternative flow or negative flow of events, those we are going to call negative test cases. So how many of you joined today? So you should have class today. You joined. How many of you joined today online class? So how many of you expected if today we don't have the class, that will be great. So who thought like that? Class you're joining, but you're expecting you should not be there class. That is negative. So expecting joining, expecting also class should be there. So that is positive. That means when we return the test case, understand when we return the test case, so whereas expectations column should be successful transaction. Such a way we return that we are going to call positive test cases. That means in simple test case with valid inputs. I want to test the login functionality by using valid credentials. When I use valid credentials, what is the expectation? Successful login operation, right? That's what the positive test case. So same way I write test case like this. So validate login functionality with invalid credentials. Then what is the expectation? Unsuccessful transaction. So this is comes under negative test case. This is comes under a negative test case it is. Okay. The as a tester, we have to think both ways. We have to derive the test cases. How we are going to write the test cases? Where we are going to write? There are two ways we can write the test cases. One is called again informal test cases. If I go for the interview's point of time, when they ask you general components when they're given, then you can go for the informal test cases. Then step by step you can write it is what factor you have to validate. So informal test cases you can write. So but real time when they are going to work, we have to go for the formalized test cases. So informal test cases will be like this. So the step by step we are going to write. Each step should start either with a verify or check. Okay. So then each step will have the only one factor to validate. Verify company name, verify count as only like this. So that should be low level. Each factor should be. You should not write like a verify quality of the water bottle when asking the test case for the water bottle. Okay. So how many I given this? This is in the class I explained and some assignment also I given to you. so which are going to be asked very frequently. So as a student level, this is your job. You have to write. At least you think about this compound in your mindset. You are going to get as a tester. How we need to think. That is the assignment is given. The thinking capabilities you have to improve. So this is not going to be much difficult. But first time when you are going to write, no, it will take little bit time. Okay. So how uh, to think as a tester, and also I give a best example. So how to remember the system testing techniques such a way each testing technique one factor you return so that you are going to get minimum 10 factors for each component. Okay. So then formalize the test cases you want to prepare. So you should have the template we are going to use. Test case template. So every company is going to maintain their own template to write the test cases. Okay. So what are the components are there in the test case template? This is how template test case template looks like this we have. Okay. What is the first component I have here? Project, where we have to write the name of the project for which project related test cases you are writing. Second thing, module. So which module rated? Here I written the test case, which already I shown to you earlier in the class. I want to verify the delete mail functionality in Gmail inbox. I want to write the test case to verify delete mail functionality in Gmail inbox. So then project is Gmail, module name called inbox, created by name of the test engineer, created on which date test cases are prepared, which date test cases are prepared. Then reviewed on, reviewed on. So at the time of the review, the person maybe test lead will do the reviews. At the time, he's going to write his name and date. Refer documents, the requirement documents. After that, we have the test case ID or name. Then we have to give the name of the test case. That should be unique for the entire project. So like TC001 underscore project name underscore module name underscore functionality name. So test case is description. So we have to write the purpose of the test case. So what is the purpose of this test case I'm writing? To verify delete email functionality. That is the information is given here. This test case to verify delete email functionality. The priority is one of the important one. Priority defines importance of the test case during the execution time. There is a priority. Priority describes the importance of the test case during execution. So how do you give the priority for the test case means? For which functionality validation purpose we are writing the test case? So that functionality, how much important with respect to client business needs. Based on that, we can go for the priority will be given. There can be three levels of priorities: high, medium, low. Very frequently used functionality means high priority. So sometimes only used functionality means medium priority. Rarely used functionality, we have to go for the low priority. The different kind of priority levels we have. Then step name. It says the number of steps in a test case. Okay. Then step description, step name. It says the number of steps in a test case. It says the number of steps in a test case. Step name. Step one, two, three, like this. Step description. So it says that what are the operation to be performed in application, user action to be performed in application, test data, what are the inputs for application while doing that operation, says the test data, expected result. So it says the expected behavior of the application, how application need to respond when we do this kind of operation. The expected result. So then expected result always we are going to draft from the requirement documents, FRS documents. Study, understand, then you have to prepare it, please. Okay. Then see one step when you are going to send the test case document, at least one operation, user operation, and expected behavior should be there. Expected result. Okay. Actual result at the time of execution we are going to provide. When you compare both, if it is pass matching, you have to give the pass. Otherwise, you have to give the status for failed at least. So this is the how we can go for the test cases preparation. Okay. So we will take break here for 15 minutes. Then we go for the remaining portion. Okay. Thank you. So we'll continue. Today I will going to complete this remaining portion for us. So take 15 minutes to break. Then we're going to continue the session.